They moved between cities in Lebanon, Australia, Canada, and other countries. In just 5 years, Keanu attended 4 different schools. Every time he finally adapted to a new environment and made a few friends, he had to pack his simple luggage and leave again. This frequent moving made it impossible for him to build stable relationships. In class, he always felt like an outsider, out of place. When other classmates played during breaks, he mostly sat alone at his desk, either reading borrowed books or staring into space. Once, the school organized a spring outing. He didn't have proper sneakers, so he had to wear old leather shoes. A few mischievous classmates mocked him, calling him a little beggar. At that moment, he clenched the hem of his clothes tightly, unable to say a word. That feeling of loneliness and embarrassment remained vivid in his memory even after he became famous many years later. By high school, Keanu's turbulent upbringing had made him a bit rebellious and withdrawn. Coupled with the gaps in his studies from constant moving, he was expelled from 2 schools in a row. His teenage years were filled with confusion and helplessness, with no clear direction for the future. But even though life was shrouded in darkness, fate left him a glimmer of hope. When Keanu was 8 years old, he accidentally watched a martial arts movie. The smooth movements of the actors and the thrilling plot captivated him instantly. It was at that moment that the idea of becoming an actor took root in his heart like a seed. From then on, no matter how hard life was or how confused he felt, he never gave up this dream. In his free time, he would imitate the characters in the movies and imagine his own acting scenes in his mind. This dedication and love for acting became the most precious spiritual sustenance in his dark childhood, supporting him through countless difficult days. Speaking of his acting career, it was full of accidents and twists. At the age of 16, by chance, Keanu got an offer to shoot a Coca-Cola commercial. Back then, he was tall and handsome, with a unique melancholic temperament. His clear eyes reflected the purity and innocence of a teenager. This distinctive look made him stand out in front of the camera. In the commercial, he wore a simple white shirt. His smile was shy yet highly. The young man stood in the spotlight, seemingly on the verge of a smooth life. But who would have thought that fate would soon deal him a heavy blow? In 1993, his close friend, also an actor, River Phoenix, died of a drug overdose on the streets of Los Angeles. The news was like a bolt from the blue for Keanu, completely crushing him. Riva and Keanu had been close friends since childhood. They had similar personalities and shared the same pursuit of acting, making them the most important people in each other's lives. They struggled in their careers together and shared the joys and sorrows of life. Keanu had said in interviews more than once that Riva was an indispensable part of his life. But River's death was sudden and unexpected. They had made an appointment to meet the day before. And Keanu never imagined that the next time he heard about River, it would be the news of their eternal separation. This sudden loss plunged the already withdrawn and inexpressive Keanu into prolonged grief. He couldn't accept the fact that his best friend was gone. He often sat in a daze late at night, his mind filled with memories of their time together. He dared not face the empty room, as it was filled with River's shadow everywhere. To numb his pain, he began taking on as many roles as possible, throwing all his time and energy into work. He immersed himself in scripts and film sets every day, trying to drive away his inner sorrow with busyness. Even his beloved motorcycle, which used to be his way of releasing pressure and enjoying freedom, lost its appeal after Riva's death. Exercises followed by 4 hours of martial arts practice. From basic horse stances and punches to complex fighting moves, he polished every detail repeatedly. To achieve the physical condition required for the role, he strictly controlled his diet, giving up his favorite junk food like hamburgers and cola. He only ate boiled chicken breasts, vegetables, and a small amount of staple food every day, losing nearly 10 kilograms drastically. The martial arts training was extremely arduous. Once, when practicing a difficult kick, he accidentally strained his leg muscles, sweating profusely from the pain. The doctor advised him to rest for a week. But he only took 2 days off before returning to the training ground, continuing to practice through the pain. Long-term training left him covered in bruises, his arms and legs were full of scars, and sometimes he would be woken up by the pain when turning over at night. But he never complained. When filming the classic scene of dodging bullets in the rain, he had to shoot continuously for more than 10 hours in the cold rain. His black leather coat became extremely heavy after being soaked, making his leaps turn purple from the cold, but he still completed every move accurately. In the movie, Keanu, wearing a black leather coat, elegantly dodging bullets in the rain, became an irreplaceable classic scene in film history. This image not only had a strong visual impact but also contained profound philosophical thinking, making The Matrix a groundbreaking sci-fi masterpiece. The loss of their daughter plunged the two into deep grief. Keanu looked at his weak girlfriend and the cold baby, his heart filled with despair and self-blame. He couldn't sleep all night, replaying the beautiful moments of expecting the baby with Jennifer in his mind, feeling the heart-wrenching pain of losing a child. Before he could recover from the pain of losing his daughter, Jennifer died in a sudden car accident in 2001. At that time, Jennifer was driving on a highway in Los Angeles when she collided with a truck due to an operational error, dying on the spot. This news completely shattered Keanu's world. He lost the love of his life and his dream of building a warm family. At Jennifer's funeral, Keanu, dressed in a black suit, personally carried her coffin. Kim and Keanu had an extremely deep bond. They supported each other since childhood, becoming each other's reliance during their turbulent childhood. When he heard the news of his sister's illness, Keanu was completely panicked. He immediately suspended all his work, turned down all film offers and commercial activities, and devoted himself wholeheartedly to taking care of his sister. He searched everywhere for famous doctors, looking for the best treatment plan for her, sparing no expense to invite experts for consultations. He stayed by her hospital bed every day, carefully taking care of her daily needs and encouraging her to face the illness bravely. His sister's condition weighed heavily on his heart, making him feel once again the fragility of life and the unpredictability of fate. To take care of his sister wholeheartedly, Keanu suspended his work for a full 4 years. At that time, although he was not as popular as he was during the Matrix era, he still had many high-quality resources, including an offer to star in a big-budget commercial film, with the studio offering a salary of $20 million, which was top-tier actor treatment at the time. But when his agent told him the news, he only said, "Turn it down. I need to be with my sister," without the slightest hesitation. During that period, he turned down almost all the work he could. His daily life revolved entirely around his sister's treatment. During Kim's chemotherapy, she suffered severe side effects such as nausea, vomiting, and hair loss. Sometimes she would throw up everything she ate within 10 minutes, becoming so thin that she was just skin and bones. Her mood was also extremely low. She often sat by the hospital bed, crying silently. Keanu stayed by her side patiently, cooking light and varied food for her every day. Even if she only took a small bite, he would be happy. He also read to her, told her interesting stories from his early acting days, and even tried to tell bad jokes all just to make her laugh, encourage her to stay optimistic, and tell her that she would definitely defeat the illness. To provide the best treatment for his sister, he spared no expense to hire a top medical team, including cancer experts from the United States and Germany, to form a special treatment group for regular consultations. He also personally read a lot of medical materials. Even for professional medical terms, he would humbly ask the doctors, just to understand his sister's condition more clearly. Even though his income had decreased due to suspending work and he had to bear the high treatment costs, he never hesitated. Once, the doctor suggested trying a new targeted drug that was not yet widely available and extremely expensive, one course of treatment cost hundreds of thousands of US dollars. Keanu didn't hesitate for a second, saying, "No matter how expensive it is, use it as long as it helps my sister's condition." For several years, he almost faded out of the public eye. The Hollywood spotlight no longer shone on him, and there was little news about him in the media. What was even more unbearable for him was that he faced 6 years of being sidelined in Hollywood. The so-called sidelining was not an explicit ban, but an implicit exclusion in the industry. Studios were unwilling to take the risk of casting him as the lead, and he could barely get even supporting roles. Commercial activities ignored him completely, and his past endorsement deals had long expired. During those years, Keanu had almost no roles to play. Occasionally, he could only get minor roles in low-budget movies with few scenes and shallow characterizations, making it impossible for him to show his acting skills. He also tried to actively seek roles, pitching himself to directors and studios. But most of his efforts fell on deaf ears, or he received polite rejections such as not suitable for the role or too high market risk. In these 6 years, his financial situation was also affected. Although he had accumulated a lot of wealth before, his savings gradually decreased due to his sister's medical expenses and daily living costs. He had to cut back on expenses, no longer buying luxurious houses and sports cars as he did at the peak of his career, and lived a low-key and simple life. The mental pressure was even greater. He had once been a top Hollywood superstar, but now he had become a has-been actor with no roles. This huge gap tormented him. Some friends felt sorry for him, advising him to change careers or try other fields. But his love for acting never faded even in his lowest point. He never gave up his dream of returning to the screen. To society. This donation was used for cancer drug research and development, cancer patient assistance, and the construction of related medical facilities, bringing hope to countless cancer families. When filming the sequels to The Matrix later, he showed his generosity again. At that time, the movie still performed brilliantly at the box office, and he received a dividend of $75 million. Instead of keeping this money for himself, he gave most of it to the behind-the-scenes staff of the film, including the stunt team, makeup artists, photographers, and lighting engineers. In Hollywood, an actor's salary and dividends are usually unrelated to the behind-the-scenes staff. Keanu's approach completely broke industry conventions. He knew well that an excellent movie could not be made without the hard work of every behind-the-scenes staff member. The stunt team often risked their lives to present exciting action scenes. Makeup artists and costume designers carefully crafted the characters to make them more vivid. Photographers and lighting engineers created perfect visual effects to make the movie more engaging. Although these unsung heroes are not well known to the audience, they made great contributions to the success of the film. The behind-the-scenes staff who received the dividends were deeply moved. Many said that this was the most precious recognition and reward they had received in their careers. In addition to these large donations, Keanu also quietly established a foundation in his name, specifically. Once he was photographed after a 10-plus-hour filming session, looking exhausted, wearing simple sportswear and dozing off in the corner of the subway. When an elderly lady with a cane got on the train, he immediately opened his eyes, stood up actively to help her sit down, and leaned against the handrail himself, showing no impatience at all. Another time, he met a homeless person on the street who was huddled in the corner shivering, with an empty lunchbox in front of him. Unlike many people who would avoid him, Keanu walked straight over, squatted down on the street, and talked to the homeless person kindly. He first asked for the homeless person's name and story, listened carefully to his words, nodding in response from time to time. Then he took out some cash from his pocket and handed it to him, then turned to a nearby fast food restaurant to buy a hamburger, fries, and a hot drink, which he gave to the homeless person, telling him, "It's cold. Wear more clothes and take care of yourself." A netizen took this scene and posted it online, and the comment section was full of praise for him. One netizen said, "He is clearly a superstar at the top of the pyramid, yet he is willing to bend down to listen to the stories of people at the bottom. This is true gentleness." When meeting children who ask for photos, he will patiently squat down to be at eye level with them, smile gently to match their angle, kindly ask for their names, and tell them to study hard and grow up happily. Once a child accidentally fell down and cried because he was nervous while taking a photo. Keanu immediately squatted down, patted the child's back gently, and comforted him softly. "It's okay, little warrior. Falling down is nothing to be afraid of." He also took out a candy from his pocket and gave it to the child, waiting until the child stopped crying and smiled before taking the photo with him. In addition, he often participates in various public welfare activities, appearing at charity galas, donating books and school supplies to children in poor areas, and donating money and materials to disaster-stricken areas. These warm gestures of his are not a one-time show, but a persistent practice day after day, year after year. He uses his influence to spread positive energy, making more people feel the warmth and kindness of the world, and winning the respect and love of audiences around the world. Looking at Keanu Reeves' life, you will find that he is really a very insightful person. When he was at the peak of his fame, he did not lose himself. When he was at a low point, he did not give up his dignity. He always faced money and fame with a detached attitude, accepted the hardships of life with a gentle mindset, and warmed the world with kindness. After the Matrix series made him a top Hollywood superstar, his popularity and influence reached their peak. Countless commercial endorsements and luxurious event invitations poured in, tempting him to climb to the peak of fame and fortune. But Keanu always kept a clear head and was not dazzled by the spotlight, flowers, and applause. Unlike other Hollywood superstars, he did not buy luxurious mansions, but still lived in an ordinary apartment. He did not collect various expensive sports cars. He usually traveled on his beloved motorcycle or public transportation. He dressed simply, often appearing on the street in a simple t-shirt and jeans, with no hint of a superstar's arrogance. Regarding money, he once said in an interview, "Money is a tool, not the whole of life. I don't need a lot of wealth, just enough to meet my basic needs and help the people I want to help." He never pursued high salaries. When choosing scripts, he valued the connotation of the role and the quality of the script more than commercial interests. When asked by reporters about his past turbulent experiences, he only said calmly, "If I could trade everything to get back the people I love, I would give it all. If not, then I want to have fewer troubles and help more people." This sentence has no gorgeous rhetoric, but it contains his profound understanding of life and open-minded attitude. He knows well that some losses in life are irreversible. Instead of lingering in pain and being unable to extricate himself, it is better to accept reality calmly and face life in a positive way. When his sister was ill, he put aside his career to take care of her wholeheartedly. After losing his beloved, he buried his longing deep in his heart and treated everyone around him with kindness. His detached character is also reflected in his adherence to dignity. Even during the 6 years when he was sidelined in Hollywood and had almost no roles, he never gave up his principles. He did not deliberately cater to the market to get roles, nor did he take on low-quality works for many. He always maintained a respectful attitude towards acting, upheld the professional dignity of an actor, and waited for the right opportunity to prove himself. When he returned to the peak again, he did not become complacent. He still maintained a humble and low-key attitude, respecting every staff member and treating every fan well. He has proven with his life that even if life is full of regrets, even after experiencing countless hardships and setbacks, one can still live a profound life with weight.